Hello guys, welcome to Salesforce Cody. Myself Ankit Gangwani, and in this video I am going to talk about how to launch Lightning Web Components dynamically. For this I have a very interesting use case. On the case object I have a field called request type. In the request type we have a couple of options. So request type will be a picklist field on the case object which has a couple of options: billing issue, escalation request, upload files, technical support, etc, etc. Now I have a Lightning Web Component for each request type. For example, I have one Lightning Web Component for billing issue which allow user to raise invoices, view their billing history, submit their disputes. Escalation request, another Lightning Web Component which enable users to escalate their issues. Upload files, again another Lightning Web Component which asks user to upload their supporting documents, and so on. So assuming we have 8 request types, and correspondingly we have 8 different Lightning Web Components for each request type. Now the requirement is, the business use case is, I want to drag all those Lightning Web Components to my case object. I have already done that, so I will show you how it looks. So I am on my case object. If I go to a case record, you can see all those Lightning Web Components are available on the case record. For example, billing issue, escalation request, upload files, technical support. So these are all total 8 Lightning Web Components, again each request type. Now if you look this page carefully, the page doesn't look great. It looks so weird because it has a number of components which is not nicer. So now how we can get rid of all those components? So for that I'm going to launch all those components one by one dynamically. So for that we will simply need a simple Lightning Web Component here which will ask the user the type of request they want to perform. For example, if the user select billing issue, then I only want to launch the billing issue Lightning Web Component dynamically. Now I know this implementation can be done with different ways. We can launch the LWCs with multiple if-else conditions, but that is not the purpose of the video. The purpose of the video is to show you how we can launch the LWCs dynamically. So for that I have already created those 8 Lightning Web Components, and these are the LWC API names for each component. Now to launch the LWC dynamically, we are going to perform some steps today. First, we are going to create Lightning Web Component for each request type, which we have already done that. Second, we are going to create a custom metadata. Custom metadata will hold the name of the request type and then their Lightning Web Component API name for each request type. Then we are going to create a request type picklist field on case object which holds the number of request type options. Then we are going to create a very basic Lightning Web Component which will have a combo box with all the options of request type and a launch button. So as soon as the user select their request type and hit the launch button, they will see their request type component on the screen. Last, we are going to create a generic LWC model to launch the LWCs dynamically. Why model? Because I want that whenever a user select any request type and hit the launch button, that the user should see their dynamically launched component as a model. That's why we are going to create a model. So let's go and start the steps one by one. So because we have already done step number 1, now I'm going to create the custom metadata. For that, before I create a custom metadata, I will remove all those pages, all those components from my record page. So I have removed all the pages and hit save and back. So now I don't have anything. Now we will create a very basic component here. So for that, first I'm going to create the custom metadata. New custom metadata, and I will name it as request type metadata. I need to remove this underscore as well and save. Now we already have some fields available. So label, I will use this field to store the name of the request type, and I will create one more custom field which will hold the API name of the LWC. So I will choose text and I will name it as request type API name. Length, let's set to 55 for now. Require. and next and save. So now we have our custom metadata created. Now let's create some records. New. So the label will be the name of the request type, and the request type API name will holds the LWC API name. So let's start one by one and create all those request types which we have available right now. So first is billing issue, and the API name for billing issue is this, and new. Second, we have escalation request, and the API name is escalation request. Then we have upload files, and this is the API name. Then we have technical support, and this is the API name. Then we have schedule callback, and this is the API name. Then we have replacement request, this is the API name. Then we have submit feedback, this will be the API name, feedback collector. Then last we have cancel subscription, and this is the API name. Save. So let's verify whether we have created all 8 request types. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So now we have all 8 request types available in the metadata. Let's create a new view to see the API name as well, and I don't need the namespace, and save. So now you can see for each request type we have our request type API name available in the metadata. So that means we are done with the step number 2. Now we are going to create a picklist field on the case object which holds the same thing, the name of the request type. So for that I'm going on the case object and going to the fields and relationships, new picklist request type, and I will enter the values manually. For that my values are this. And next, visible to everyone, next, and save. So this step is also done. Now we are going to create a simple Lightning Web component with a combo box and a launch button. So for that I am going to LWC and create a new Lightning Web component, and I will name it as request type launcher. I'm going to paste the code already I have written just to save some time. So this will be my HTML. Let me explain. So I have a lightning card which says the label, and then I have a lightning combo box which says select request type, and the options which we are going to fetch it from our case object, which we have a request type picklist field, and then we have a launch button. So whenever a user select a request type from this combo box and hit the launch button, so we need to launch our corresponding Lightning Web component. So for that I need to write the JavaScript and the Apex to get the values from the Apex. So I will go and create a new class. Let me close the existing ones, and I am going to name this class case controller. So in this class I will have one method. So one method which says get request type options. So whenever we call this class from our LWC, it will get all the options available in this picklist field and returning to the JavaScript, and then where we can handle all the options and put it into our Lightning combo box. So let me save this. Done. Let me go back to my LWC. So now from the JavaScript we are going to call that Apex class. So this will be my wire method which is getting called from this to Apex. For that I need to import my Apex class. So get request type options is the method which we have imported. Now I need to add some more things. Wire. Let's add everything API track, because we are going to use some API variables as well and some track variables as well. Cool. Now this is done. Do we have any variable which we need to declare? I guess no. So let me save this. Let me save the whole component. Cool. So this is deployed successfully. So let me first drag this to the case record. For that I need to expose this to true, and I also need to give targets to the record page and deploy again. Done. So now I am going to my case record and drag the component here. So our component is request type launcher. Cool. Save and back. But I still don't see, maybe I have not saved the HTML part. Yes. So let me go back and refresh. I think I need to do the empty cache and hard reload. Yeah. So now I can see my combo box. So all these values are coming from the apex on the case object request type field, and then we have a launch button, but we don't have any event on the launch button as of now. So we are done with creation of the combo box and getting all the values populated. Now let's go and write something on the launch button. So for that we have handle launch. So let me define something here. So in the launch button I need the combo box value, and then let me go to the screen. So for example, when a user select billing issue, we don't have anything, that's fine. When I click on the launch button, what I want is this value should go to the custom metadata and find the API name related to the billing issue. So if I go to my custom metadata types, request type metadata, and see all the records. So if I select billing issue, then I need this API name to get my LWC call dynamically. So for that we need to write another apex method to fetch the API name from the custom metadata. So I have already written that method. I'm just going to copy it. So if I go to dev console, so this will be my another method which says get request type API name, and I am sending a label which is the request type. So whenever a request type is there, we are going to query the request type metadata, and we are going to return the request type API name to the LWC. Let me save this, and let me also write the logic to call the apex in LWC. For that I am going to write in the handle launch. So whenever I hit the launch button, it should call my apex. Yeah, let's understand the code line by line. So whenever I hit the launch button, so we need the selected value as well. So selected value we will get when, so whenever a user select anything on the combo box, this method will get called handle change. So let's define handle change. So whenever a handle change call, it will assign the value to the selected value, and let's assign the selected value and options. So now we have options which are using here, and selected value which is getting assigned whenever a user select any value on the pick list. So now whenever a user hit the launch button, I will get the value selected from the combo box. So if the value is getting selected, then I'm going to call my another method which is this get request type API name. I think I need to import this method as well. Let me just copy it. Yep. Yeah. So once this method is getting called, I am passing the label, I'm passing the value from the combo box, and then it is giving me the API name from the metadata. So once this method sends the API names successfully, let's print if we are getting the API name or not. console.log. Just wanted to make sure that we are getting the right API name for the right request type. So let's deploy the whole component. Done. Yeah, let's go and retry this. So if I go to console and clear it, and if I select, let's say, technical support and launch, so now I'm getting technical support. So technical support is the API name of my Lightning Web Component. Let's say if I select cancel subscription and hit launch, so now I'm getting cancel subscription. So I think we have created our LWC with the request type options and the launch button. Now the last step is to create a generic LWC model which will launch the corresponding request type dynamically. So for that, I am going to create another LWC which is generic model. So this will be the LWC model. So I'm going to import few things. For that we need a lightning model, not a lightning element. And here I will use API because I'm going to pass the data from my request type launcher to this model. And this will have some couple of parameters. So first one is, let's say, LWC API name. So this API name we are getting the value from the request type launcher. Then we need another parameter which holds the name of the constructor. So let's say component constructor. Then we need the connected callback to launch connected callback because we are going to launch the dynamic LWC from here. So for that, I will just copy the piece of code which is required. So this is the piece of code required to launch the LWC. So let's understand one line by line. So component reader is basically assigning the value C/ and then the name of the Lightning Web Component. And then it is going to import that component here. So we are going to do this asynchronously. So for that I need async and then await here. So once the Lightning Web Component successfully imported, there we are going to use the default, and then we need to load this component in the HTML. So for that we need another line of code. So now let me explain this line by line. So because this is the modal component, that's why we need the Lightning modal header, modal body and modal footer. Modal header will simply say request type. In the body we are going to launch the dynamic LWC based on the request type. So if you can see, this is the line which we need, Lightning component. This is our constructor which we have just defined in the connected callback. And in the footer we will simply have a cancel button. So whenever you hit the cancel, I will just close the model. So for that I'll define the cancel as well. So whenever you hit the cancel, we will close the model. We are sorted with our connected callback. We have two parameters. One is getting the value from the parent component, and I think that's it. Yes, one important thing we missed. We also need to make this component available dynamically. That means we need to add this component to be capable to load the components dynamically. For that we need to add capabilities Lightning dynamic component, and then hit save. Save and save as well. So let me deploy the whole component one more time. Let's deploy one more time just for the safe. Yes. So this component is successfully deployed. Now we need to launch this component. We need to launch this model once we hit the launch button. So for that I am going back to my launcher, and so this is my launch event. Whenever a launch button is executed, this method will get called. In the API name result, we are getting the value which is the Lightning Web Component API name. So once we are getting the value successfully and the value and the field is not null, so we are going to call another method here which is going to this. So let me explain this again. So this is the method which says open generic model, which is going to open the model which we have created. The size small, we can say small, medium, large, and this is the LWC API name which we need to pass to our generic model. So for that we need the LWC API name here as well. So for that I am going to call this from here, this dot open generic model, and then this dot API name result. So that means once we receive the API name from our metadata, we are going to call this method. This method will open the model based on the API name. So we need to import this model as well. For that I'm going to say import generic model from generic model. That's it. I think we are good now. Let me just double check if in case we didn't miss anything. Let me deploy this first. Yes, I think we are good now. Let's go back and test our component. But for that I just mark this step as done because we have created the model that will gonna launch the LWCs dynamically. So now if I select, let's say, billing issue and hit launch, so now you can see the billing issue has been launched successfully, and when we click cancel it will get cancelled. Let's say if I launch technical support, so the technical support request Lightning Web Component launched successfully. Let's say submit feedback, so we can see the submit feedback component. Let's say cancel subscription, so we can see the cancel subscription page successfully. So this way we can launch our Lightning Web Component dynamically. I know I just picked a very basic use case just to make yourself understand that this is how we can launch the components. But yes, I mean this particular use case can be implemented with different ways. I may not require to launch this dynamically because we can simply put 8 if conditions, and then based on the request type we can launch we can open our Lightning Web Components accordingly. But the purpose is to show you how to launch the LWCs dynamically, because there are some business cases which is completely required to launch those components dynamically. So I hope you understand the step-by-step process how we can launch those components. If you face any questions, any issues, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and please do subscribe the channel. Thank you. Take care.